All right, Dawn, 13 games into year number 2. How different is year number 2 from year number 1?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think year number 2 is different in the respect that we're really trying to make a change and make an improvement defensively, and we're reaping some of the benefits of that. You know, we graduated 2 post kids who played a significant amount of minutes for us, and offensively their movement was really, really good for us. What we're finding out this year, in an interesting twist of events, is that our movement is actually better this year. We just haven't made as many shots. Last year we made a lot of tough shots and sometimes maybe even ill-advised shots, and we felt like our offense was really good because they went in. Where this year we feel like we're getting better shots. We just haven't made as many of those shots this year.
So let's talk about that defense. I mean, especially lately, 44 turnovers in the last 2 games, 20-plus turnovers you forced 5 different times this year. So, yeah, the defense is coming through.
It is, and I think there are a couple things that go together when you're working on your defense. One is the toughness that it takes to be really good defensively really kind of gets your whole system moving fast. And when you're really moving fast, sometimes it's more difficult to slow down and make shots on offense. And so right now we're seeing at times as though our defense is a little bit farther ahead than our offense is, and yet that it looks that way, it appears that way because we are missing open shots at times. But our defense is really doing a nice job, and we're playing with a lot of zip, a lot of pop. We've created a ton of turnovers this year. We're actually doing a pretty good job rebounding the basketball, and sometimes that's skewed because we're turning teams over so they don't get as many shots. So they have an opportunity to rebound more shots that we miss. So sometimes that's even a little bit skewed. So the fact that we're doing a good job turning teams over and continue to rebound is a good sign.
And you're really taking care of the ball, too. I mean, your turnover numbers are way down.
They are. You know, there are a lot of really positive things that are working for this team, and that's what we continue to try to remind them, because at times you look at, well, last year our record was better at this time. And so you say, well, we were a better team last year, when in all reality, a lot of signs point to us being a better team this year. We've played a little tougher schedule, and we haven't won quite as many games.
Let's talk about the biggest disappointment so far. And that, of course, was losing Caitlin Duffy after just 2 games into the season. She wanted so badly, and I know you wanted so badly to have her for that 6th year, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, that was really, really tough. I think mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it's just so hard for a kid who puts so much time and energy into her basketball career and then has these hopes and dreams of coming back. The NCAA grants that opportunity. You know, so she's working her tail off to do the things she needs to do to come back, and then recognizes 3 games into the season, it's just not going to work. Yeah. You know, her body just isn't holding up the way that it needs to in order for her to be able to play that she wants to play and, you know, and live a normal life. I think that's the other aspect that, you know, people can say, well, maybe, you know, she didn't play as well or didn't play as much, but in all reality, what's your quality of life outside of it? All the pain that she felt just trying to be ready to practice every day. So Caitlin made the decision that she wanted to find other ways to help us out and has really focused her time and energy on being a student manager, coach, leader for this team.
One player you did get back after missing all last year was Jasmine Trimboli, and Jazz really, especially the last couple of games, had a big game against North Dakota and really keyed that big comeback.
Well, there's a really funny story because Jasmine had been playing really well, had been in the starting lineup. We've been through a season so far of sicknesses and injuries holding kids out of the starting lineup for a couple of games. Kira Duffy was out of the starting lineup. Jasmine was inserted into the starting lineup. She played really, really well. Kira comes back, gets reinserted into the starting lineup, and Jasmine's a little bit banged up and a little bit sore and doesn't play particularly well. Well, then the game before North Dakota, the Riverside game, Jasmine sprained her wrist, and we didn't really even know if we'd have her in the North Dakota game. Didn't practice for a day, came back and shoot around, looked really stiff and sore. Didn't really know what to expect. Early in the game, Jasmine's out there, and we have a sub coming in for her because she looks pretty tired. She makes the first 3 of the game, and the sub looks at me, and it was actually Taylor Fredericks. She looks at me, and I'm like, it's okay. You can still go for Jasmine. Jasmine hits the second. Well, it's not a 3. It's a long 2. She looks at me again, and I say, it's okay. And then Jasmine has a crossover move taken to the baseline scoring, and I say, yep, I think you should sub in for someone else, too. So even though she was all banged up and looked tired and sore, she played phenomenally well, which is a great sign showing her toughness.
Yeah. Let's talk about your consistent scores, and no surprise, Allison Arns, Kira Duffy. You mentioned Kira missed those 3 games, but boy, when they've been in there, Allison's had double figures in 8 games, Kira's had double figures in 6 games, and they've just been so consistent for you.
Well, they really have, and I think they've been consistent in a couple of ways. They've been consistent in attacking the rim, in scoring, and posting up and scoring. So getting around the rim, they've been very effective for us. And also, kids that can stretch the defense and shoot it from the arc. And I think that's certainly the sign for us that we have the ability to score it around the rim. We have the ability to get shots around the basket. Now, we don't always do it with a big post kid posting up. We do it with different guards posting up, different post kids posting up, and a lot of kids penetrating and scoring. And so those 2 players have done a really nice job of attacking the rim and making decisions, and also they can also definitely shoot it from outside.
You talked about the defense earlier, and Madison McKeever, we saw what she could do as a freshman last year, really, really keying that defense. I mean, her steal numbers have been so impressive so far.
Well, they really have, and I think what's really important for her growth, continued growth, is to understand how to play really hard and do that to the best of her ability without fouling. And sometimes when you're that aggressive, it's hard to do both at all times. And so early in the year, I think that was a major point of emphasis for us. The last game, she got in foul trouble again, and it's hard because she's going for a loose ball, and there are a couple of players going after it, and, at times get some tough breaks that go against her, but a lot of times creates such positive things out of that hustle and that intensity.
How are you able to work in some of your new faces this year? What kind of contributions are you getting from some of the newer kids?
Well, we have 4 freshmen that have suited up and played for us. We have a transfer kid who's sitting out. Our 4 freshmen, Chloe Lamb, is probably seeing the most minutes for us right now from Sully Buttes, back-to-back state champs out of the state of South Dakota, and really a kid that has come off the bench and has given Madison McKeever a couple of, extra breaks, maybe J.C. Bradley here and there, maybe Allison Arns, someone who can play and be very versatile on the perimeter. Has done a really nice job for us. Monica Arns is another kid. We recognize that Arns family name, and at times, is a kid that is playing a little undersized in the post, and I think with different lineups, she's a kid that stretches the floor too. She's done a tremendous job for us. And we have 2 freshmen who haven't played considerable minutes yet, but they've given us an awful lot in terms of being able to prep our team in practice and the energy and excitement that they create. And they are Liv Korngable out of Rochester, Minnesota, and Claudia Kunzer out of Chicago, but just 2 really dynamic kids. And I think sometimes you underestimate the value of the players that are prepping you on a daily basis and make it their mission to get you better. And those are 2 kids that not only do that to help our team, but, after games, we had a tough loss against Tulsa and stayed in the office and was watching film for a few hours after the game. And as I was leaving at about 7 o'clock, game was over at 3 o'clock. I figured it's time to go home, get something to eat, watch a little more film after that. As I leave, the music's blaring in the arena, lights are on, and there's Liv Korngable getting up shots and working out. And, so those 2 kids are players to really keep an eye on in the future.
So here we go with Summit League play now this week. You, of course, knew about the Summit League before you took the job, but what did you learn about the Summit League seeing it firsthand last season? Anything surprise you about this league?
Well, the surprising part about the league last year was just how the league elevated in play and moved up to the 11th best conference in the nation. And one of the main reasons why the Summit League was able to do that is because there's so many players in this conference that can really, really score efficiently and can shoot it from the arc. And that's really where we've really tried to make a strong push defensively for us is guarding perimeter kids, guarding arc shooters. And at times we've done a tremendous job, and at other times we haven't gotten out quickly enough. But that's what's been probably the most impressive to me is how many players on each and every team can really fill it up from long distance.
So let's talk about Denver. They're 8-6. They've won 4 out of their last 6. Not shooting the ball particularly well. They're almost shooting it as well from the 3 as they are from the floor, but they're making it up with rebounding, 40 a game on the boards, and also the second fewest turnovers. So they're doing it in other ways besides just scoring the ball.
Well, it's interesting. They have a new coach this year, and early in the year I was watching some of their games from early on, and they're trying to figure out how to play together and what makes the most sense for them. So earlier in the year, they were probably doing a lot more feeding their post kids and running more of a 3-out, 2-in, and now really focusing on spacing the floor and letting their guards create, and that they can go inside. Their post kids can really, really score, but their perimeter kids, it's interesting in their stat sheet, if you look at 3-point attempts, they shoot probably about 23, 24 a game, and they have a couple kids that are in the high 30s and the 40s, and even close to 50%, but everybody really has the ability to shoot it for them. They're really well balanced. They have 5, 6 kids that are averaging about 9 points a game, and every single kid has the ability to knock down open shots. So when we talked about earlier, the surprise of the Summit League is how many teams shoot it so well. They're so versatile. And I think I really think that Denver is a very, very good team in terms of being able to put you in tough spots and make you guard every kid on the floor who can drive to the hoop and score and who can kick out and shoot.
And some young players as well, between Johnson and Nelson and Wyman and Grid. I mean, these are 2 sophomores, 2 freshmen that between the 4 of them are averaging about 40 points a game.
Yeah, it's impressive. As a matter of fact, I've watched a lot of their film, and driving back and forth, visiting family in Wisconsin, I had to turn the volume up a few times because I couldn't quite read the numbers and trying to put together names and faces of kids, but they play with such intensity and such toughness. And we saw that last year when we played against them in both games. I thought they played very, very hard and very, very well against us, and we're fortunate to come out on top in both those games. But they're a team that really plays with reckless abandon in a lot of ways when the ball's on the glass. They get after the boards really, really hard.
So how much of their rebounding coach is coming from the fact they're missing a lot of shots, shooting under 40%, and how much of it is their ability to go out and get it?
Well, I think more of it has to do with their ability to go get it. I really think that they're a team that really attacks aggressively, so you need to do a good job trying to limit their penetration without fouling them. But then they've run an offense a lot of times where they have 4 out, 4 on the perimeter, sometimes maybe even 5 on the perimeter, and they just fly kids to the glass. And that's really tough to battle. You have to decide, am I going to keep my kid off the glass or am I going to go get it? And at times, going to get it is a better option, but at other times, keeping them off the glass is a great option. But what's challenging is that it's not 1 or 2 players. Sometimes when you want to we're going to keep this kid off the glass, you say, I'm just going to not let this kid get it. I don't care if I get it or not. I'm not going to let this kid get it. The hard part against Denver is that they have 4 kids on the perimeter, and all 4 of them have the ability to play that way. So then you say, okay, let's just go beat them to the glass. Let's just go, I'll rebound them. But I'll tell you what, sometimes they have an advantage because they can see where the ball is going. They're locked in, and they're really athletic.
Feel like your team's ready for conference play?
I do. We haven't seen them after Christmas yet, so it's hard to say that definitively. But I will say what's really been impressive to me about this group of young ladies is how much they care. They really want to do well. They put in a lot of time, and at times it's almost like they feel like they have to play under the pressure to make every shot because they want to be so successful rather than play loose, have fun. And this group has a lot of personality, trust me. They do have a lot of fun. But at times, they want to do so well. So I really do believe that our kids are going to battle and give us every ounce of energy that they have heading into the Summit League season.